So I've been in EMS about 10 years. I worked in the field for about 6 or so. I worked for prompt ambulance doing transfers, and then I got a 911. I worked 911, a lot of Lake County, Gary, Indiana. Then I worked in the hospital for about 3 years. I worked in the ER there and got to see all the back end stuff. I've had a lot of students actually go in the EMS. One of my first year students actually just finished paramedic school like a month ago or something like that. I think she's on a fire department now part-time. I've had a lot of them going to fire. A lot of them are working EMS part-time while they're in college for nursing or pre-med or whatever they're in college for. One of my students actually at IU just got to work the IU Michigan basketball game a couple weeks ago for EMS standby, she was real excited about that. A lot of it kind of comes in the skills we learn. So they practice their skills all the time. We do skill days and stuff. I also keep them pretty stressed out. Some of my kids have actually kept a crying log of how often they've cried during class. I keep them stressed out with assignments and change stuff up on them, and I basically teach them how to function when they're super stressed. So when it comes down to these type of situations when they're in an emergency, they kind of almost don't think, they just do what they need to do, because I've taught them how to function while stressed by keeping them stressed, and it helps a lot with that type of stuff. They hate me at the time, but they all come back and love it afterwards. There's been a few. Every year there's a couple who either realize they don't like emergency medicine or they just don't like medicine in general. I've had students who have had people die in their clinicals on them, had family members, they had to come up talking to them after someone died, and they just couldn't handle the emotional aspects of it. Some of them couldn't handle the fast pace of that stressful situation where, you have to, like you said, you have to react right away and do stuff. Some people just realize that wasn't for them. Most of them still finish up the class just to get the high school credits and everything, and they use it like first aid, but they don't work. A lot of them don't work in the field afterwards that happens with. They learn a whole bunch of stuff. They learn like CPR, bleeding, the stuff you would think to do. They learn how to do full patient assessments, where they could actually do, we call them a field diagnosis. So we can't officially say what's wrong with someone, but based on their signs and symptoms, they're having a heart attack, we think they're having a stroke, and that kind of gives the medicines they have to give. And this year, we're actually the first high school in the state doing AEMT, which is advanced EMT, so they're actually learning how to do IVs in each other. Actually tomorrow, they'll be sticking each other. Then to learn how to do an IO, which is they actually drill into a bone to give medicine. They're not doing that to each other though, but to the dummy. And they'll be giving more medicine. They have to learn medical math now and IV maintenance and a bunch of stuff like that. We started off with it, they've already practiced on dummies. I have 2 fake arms, so they've each gotten their successful sticks on dummies. And then tomorrow, a couple paramedics I know are coming in, and we're gonna each take a student and they're gonna stick like one at a time, and we'll monitor them. If they do something wrong, we'll stop them right away, and they'll be watched nonstop while they're doing it. So there's the official reason, then there's reasons that people say they made that official. So unofficially, people think that even seniors, they're kind of worried about it just because, like you said, the stress and how they handle it, that they see people die, they see things that aren't always good, and they don't know if mentally and emotionally younger can handle it. So that's kind of something the state and hospitals are scared about. The official reason though is the way the state is set up and the way the hospital is set up. So the program has to be sponsored by a hospital and state. So my kids will get a Homeland Security certification, and you have to have a high school diploma in order to officially get the certification. So if you're a junior and you take the class, you can't use it for an entire year and then you forget stuff from it. So there is an exception we've made where we could take a junior if they're graduating at the end of their senior year and they turn 18 within a certain time frame. But that's usually, most juniors aren't graduating. So so the NREMT basically says that they're nationally certified. They've passed all those classes, they've passed the skill test, they've passed their written test, and right now I actually have 7 students that have completed it this year already. And then once they turn 18 and graduate, they'll apply for their Indiana certification, and that lets them actually function as an EMT in Indiana. And they can actually have a job, and some are going to Florida or whatever state they decide to go to. I think the biggest thing we do is I network with them a lot. So it's kind of nice that EMS we joke around and say it's the smallest big world you're gonna be a part of, because there's so many people, but everyone who works in EMS is basically a big family. So all the companies, I know people who work at them, I know people who manage companies or run companies, so they come into our class all the time. They talk to our students, they try to recruit them, the students get to do ride time with them. Like an example, Gary Fire, one of the EMS chiefs, just contacted me about setting up a class he's doing and wanted some help with. And now my students might be riding with Gary Fire in a couple weeks, doing ride time and clinicals with them. So it's just the way EMS is, everybody kind of helps everybody out. So they get to meet a lot of people and do a lot of interesting things and have a lot of opportunities they can take advantage of.